What's up? What's up? What's up? Another episode of This Life Ain't For Everybody podcast. I want to start this off by saying thank you so much. Lynchburg, Tennessee, the most iconic brand in American history, one of the most iconic brands in American history. Jack Daniel's Sour Mash Whiskey. I'm holding one in my hand right now, and you're going to understand why in a second. I'm celebrating because life is so fine, especially during these holiday months that make me think of my dad, family, and everything that goes into living the most fullest life and making the best versions of ourselves on a daily basis. You're going to hear lyrics tonight that make me think of that. Lyrics that I have to listen to before I lay my little bald head down on my pillow every night to go to sleep. So Jack Daniel's, please enjoy it responsibly. Never allow underage drinking. But thank you, Jack Daniels, for being there for me and our crew and our friends and our family for the good times, the bad times, the high times, the low times, the happy times, the sad times. It's JD. Again, enjoy it responsibly. Never allow underage drinking. This Life Ain't For Everybody. I cannot tell you how excited I am. I am coming at you from the border of California and Oregon, the Northern California, Southern Oregon border. We are at Duck Camp, and we have some country music royalty here. We have an anesthesiologist here, a nurse. I'm going to get his exact profession, what he does, but he is a badass and he knows a lot about a lot, especially wine, whiskey, and the culinary arts of cooking. Then we got Ben Ratliff, one of the finest tour managers out of Music City, USA, but he's originally from Georgia. I'm going to start this off by saying this. We have to adapt in life. As duck hunters, we have to adapt. We have to make sure that if something doesn't go our way, we have to figure out how to solve that problem. This song is called Solving Problems, and it's by the one and only, the great Brent Cobb.
Sitting on the front porch on a Sunday afternoon, just me and a buddy who I've known for a few years. We figure since the weather's nice, we might as well soak up the sights of Nashville. No suits and ties around. The conversation covers everything and in between, from Grandpa's health to marrying good girls. Oh, we ain't up to nothing, just solving all the problems of the world. We joke and laugh at the present and past, how some things do and some don't last. Like friends we'll make round here, sometimes somehow just disappear. It's funny too, the two of us, the folks back home make such a fuss about the way we're living day to day. Guitars picking, the conversation covers everything and in between, from modern music to Mama Tried by Merle. Oh, we ain't up to nothing, just solving all the problems of the world as they come and go, like us wannabes on Music Row. We're made to just burn out the way a star is made to glow. I forgot the chorus. That's perfect for that.
Where's Scott Taylor?
I haven't played it since March.
When you sing that song, this is the first thing I think of is Scotch. I've had the fine pleasure of meeting Scotch Taylor the last probably 2.5 years in Nashville.
Yeah.
Never been with him anywhere else but Nashville, but how cool of a man is he, Brent Cobb?
One of the greatest human beings I've ever known in my life. He was my first roommate there in 2008. We didn't know each other prior to it. We met through a mutual friend. We met through a mutual friend in Americus, Georgia, Jason Jones, who's also a wonderful writer. And, yeah, we showed up at a pool, and we were the only ones drinking light beer there. And
Scotch was drinking?
Yeah. Back then, Scotch was drinking. And I needed a place to live. He needed a place to live. And, yeah, one of the greatest people. I didn't like him when we lived together. But I love him now.
You love him now. So when it comes to the art of songwriting, I've heard rumors that it's hard to get in a room with you. I don't know if it's true, but I've heard that you're pretty picky. Like, why does Scotch have a invite at all times, an exclusive invite? Or is that rumor null and void? Like, you can get in the room with Brent Cobb, or you really are picky of who you write songs with?
I'm not picky at all. I will write with your grandma. I don't care, but I think that some people may perceive me as a difficult co-write, but it's all in their own head. And I just get quiet and start, I have a direction, and it's hard to maybe articulate sometimes. But
I want to say this real quick, is that this is cool as heck, because we are coming at you live from a camp in the Western United States, and we have Ben Ratliff, who is a good buddy of mine who I was introduced to by some mutual friends in Nashville. And then I end up meeting Brent Cobb through that same network of friends that pretty much they hail from the state of Georgia. Some of them moved to Nashville, some of them stayed, some of them moved back to Georgia. And we also have tonight Mr. Shawn Radford, who works in the medical field. He's been really helping me this week with my back, because I tried to be Clark Kent Superman in the gym like an idiot at 46 years old and probably shouldn't have done that. But I want to talk to you, Shawn, a little bit about, you've been referred to this week as Brent Cobb's best friend. Brent even went as far as saying, like, Shawn was that guy that was his, I don't know, of lack of better terms, his cheerleader. Like, hey, when Brent's singing, y'all shut the heck up and listen to this man's lyrics, listen to what he's doing. Is it one of those things to where you always took pride just because he was your friend, or it's because those songs and those lyrics, you were just like, good God, like, this is life?
Man, we've been friends a long time. I think 5 years old, 6 years old.
yeah, we're 6 years old.
And shortly after that, listening to his dad play and Brent getting into guitars and all that stuff, started writing these songs. We wrote this life kind of as we went, a big life. We had a great time growing up, and Brent always took it in. And a month later down the road, he'd have some songs written, he'd have some words down, and it would come out. And it was so inspiring to me, because we spent so much time together. So I knew the words kind of as he was writing them, what he was meaning. You know what I mean? So it hit me just like it hit him. It was just a special time growing up, having a good time together. And man, we did it, man. We had a good time growing up.
I can remember you shutting down parties sometimes.
We had
when you go, it'd be a few of us hanging out, and that's what I was telling Chad earlier, is that you'd be like, hey, everybody shut the up. Listen to what's going on. Right now.
It's time to listen. Yeah, man. Yeah. So we've had a good time for sure.
But you talk about like lyrics and words, and there's a lot of songwriters that have made that their profession. There's a lot of songs out there. That it blows me away about music. Like, can there really be another guitar lick? Can there really be another song that hits you in the gut, right? Ben, when you're in Nashville, you work on Music Row on 16th and 17th Avenue, you work in publishing, you work in tour managing. There is something different about the way Brent Cobb puts words together. Is this fair to say?
Yeah, it's just something that just just captivates you and makes you listen. Like, I mean, everybody that listens to the radio hears songs every day, all day long. And then there's certain songs that has that thing that just makes you go, the hell's that? And Brent's got that.
He's got it.
Hey, and I appreciate that. This whole episode is going to freak me out, because I'm sitting right here. A lot of times you do this when I ain't around. And now here I am with guests, and now here I am. But Ben, I know that same feeling. I mean, how many songs do we listen to on Music Row a day in the line of work that we do?
Yeah.
Well, you've probably listened to 100 songs in a good day of songs on the road, and you know the special thing.
Yeah.
I hear the same thing. Not just, I ain't tooting my horn. I'm just saying there is a special thing you can hear when it's...
Well, what was the song yesterday that came on from Adam Hood? And you said that should have been a #1 blowout hit. What was it? You remember? God, please help me.
It takes a
whole lot of hard work
to
make it look easy. That's that has that special... when you hear, you feel like you've heard it for 100 years,
It takes a whole lot of hard. Is that the one that makes it look that easy? That you guys both looked at each other and said, that should be a hit. So that's one of those magic songs.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When you sit down to write a song like that, like I want to ask you this, like you met Michael McVeigh this week. He wants you to sing like in the duck blind. He wants you to sing when you're taking a piss in the men's room. He wants you to just keep singing, right? Does it weird you out when you see a grown man that's in his 50s react that way to what you're doing? Or does that make you feel like, man, this has all been worth it? Because you're in a completely different place where you grew up. You're in a completely different place in Music Row. You have a big fan base in places like Montana and Washington and Oregon. You travel, you tour here. You get to a little tiny duck camp like this in Merrill, Oregon, right on the California border. What does that make you feel like as far as when a mid-50s guy, he's 54 years old, when he reacts that way to your music, what does that make you feel like inside? Because I'm a good duck hunter in my opinion, but Michael McVeigh's like going... He's not going, Chad, keep blowing that duck call. Chad, keep doing this. Man. He like doesn't give a shit if I'm here or not, right? After he met you.
It honestly, if I'm being real, it makes me feel like I think Michael's a genuine person. But I do feel like it freaks me out. And when I say it freaks me out because I feel like people who do what y'all do for a living, y'all are working, man. Y'all are really working. And when you go in and you have somebody like me who makes a living writing songs, the last 15 years of my life, it feels very understated. And so I feel like that the people that are running the show, like Michael or you or your brother Clay or Rocky or anybody out here doing some real things, I feel like you'd have to be going, this little son of a bitch. What is this little son of a bitch? What does he know? He ain't, he's making songs up for a living. He's making things up, and I am. And it feels a little, it doesn't. I can't imagine that anybody would care, and it is awesome when anybody does.
Yeah, I think that I've heard Mike talk about like other musicians I talked about bringing up here, like compared to what you do. It's like when you hear it. Here's the deal, Ben. When you hear it, it's over. You're hooked. But it's about hearing it. Like, you got to get it out there. Like, it's not mainstream radio. Brent Cobb music should be heard by everybody. If you hear, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but if you hear Shine On, Rainy Day, or if you hear Digging Holes, or if you hear Morning's Gonna Come, like, that's music to me. The problem is that now with today's format and the way that we get our content, we do have the ability to hear it, but there's still that huge population that thinks that country is what they hear on top 40 country or commercial country radio, right? Mm-hmm. When people hear a Brent Cobb song, they're like, where do I get that? Where do I get more? I don't sit there and blow them up because I need anything. I don't care if I ever get anything out of the Brent Cobb career. I think about it as like, people need to hear this music because it's real. And you've been saying it since you were, in your teens when you first wrote a song.
Felt it when we were kids. And Brent even, never wanted to be an artist at one point in his life. That kind of changed later in life. But I remember us being kids and me being, man, you just got to go for it. And he's like, nah, I'm just going to write a songwriter. And I'm like, no. You got to go. You got to give it a shot. And thankfully he's done it. So.
Shawn was the only one. Seriously, you were the only one that was always like, nope, you got to do it. Nope, you got to do it.
I steered you back in.
There are a bunch of songwriters, though, that have fell into that or fit into that and been fine with it. Like, you think about Dean Dillon. Like, everybody hears a George Strait song and they're like, the chair, the freaking chair. Well, nobody really knows who Dean Dillon is unless you dissect the career of George Strait or country music to understand what a songwriter really is. There's other people, and I mean, if I really wanted to stop and think, but Dean Dillon's the first one that comes to mind. Is that what you wanted to be, Brent? Was just like behind the scenes and just let everybody else tell the stories that you're writing?
I think so. I think the way I've been able to do it, even though I didn't really have a projection of the future, where I'm at right now is exactly where I hoped I would be, which is I write songs for other people. I'm not all over the place. I'm not a superstar as an artist, but I make my own albums at the same time. I have a lot of respect from everybody in the business. I'm out here duck hunting with you. I just where I'm at.
It's a perfect
is
mix.
Exactly where
Perfect
I
mix
always
of
hoped I
what
would
it-
be.
what it was gonna be.
I make a good living doing it. I don't make a crazy living, but it's exactly where I hoped. I can go to the grocery store and nobody knows who the heck I am, which is awesome. But I've made a living at it for 15 years. This is exactly where I'd want to be.
So when you say it's exactly where you want to be, Brent Cobb, but you also have been on the stage with the who's who. When Chris Stapleton says, Brent, come on back out here, and the crowd goes crazy because you just opened up the show with him and Marty Stewart, and then he says one of his big hits, like Might As Well Get Stoned, which was on Traveler album, and he says Brent Cobb's going to do this song with me, and you look out there through that horizon of let's say 15 to 17, 20,000 people, depending on if it's an amphitheater, stadium, whatever.
Sure.
You don't stop and think, man, I want this every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. When for my career, I don't want to. I want them to be cheering my name when it comes up to this.
I really don't. All I ever think about is just I want to make sure I can make a happy living, comfortable living with my family. But I don't have. I should be way more driven than I am, and I'm just not. I just ain't built that way. I'm lazy.
I've heard ramblings that I think Stapleton. I heard the rumor. It might be a rumor. Ben, you might know this. Did you just put gloves on in this room?
You know why you?
Hey,
Clay, every time I see Clay walking around, I get colder.
And they're not
That's how much
little.
he's got
They're
to
not
be
little
in them.
gardening.
You know why
gloves.
you cold?
Oh man,
I got a sneaking suspicion.
You know why you cold, Ben?
You know why you call, man. I've heard people say though that you will go into the Songwriting Hall of Fame before Chris Stapleton does. This might be a rumor, and I know that you're going to play it down.
Jesus. Yeah, I don't know.
But
That's too political. There's no way to know who's going to go. I
Who
mean,
knows?
But do you
Hank
do you
Jr.
look
just-
at your songwriting on that level, Brent Cobb? Because your songwriting's different.
I believe in my songwriting. Yes, I would hope that it would be worthy of that. But I also know the politics that go into that kind of stuff. And so, I know, my songs are good enough. Of course, I believe in myself that much. But I know things get tricky in the business. So.
Sean,
Hank Jr. just got inducted into that.
and he's 70.
Dude, and
that's
have you
nuts.
ever
He's a
listened to
genius.
Hank Jr. songs?
Oh,
Hank Jr. is his songwriting, the way he writes songs, are why the country music industry he did it. I mean, he's the dude. He set the whole foundation. It's genius. It's rural. It's poetic. It's hooky. It's a hit, but it's also has something to say. Hank Jr. just got inducted into that.
when you look at the way that people are listening to their music today, Brent Cobb, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music. When I was growing up, it was you would go to Warehouse Records and Tapes or Kmart and you would buy a cassette or a vinyl. You would go home and watch MTV Friday night videos, and then MTV came and I would watch MTV Raps and I would watch all the videos that came on. I was into hip hop because I got to know the artist.
Straight up.
There right there was the Beastie Boys right in front of me in 1986. They were singing Paul Revere.
Oh, yeah.
And then I would be able to go open a vinyl and read the notes, the liner notes, and say the acknowledgments and thank you to this guy. The songwriters. I knew who was writing the AC/DC songs or the Guns N' Roses songs or the Quiet Riot songs. There was like this time that you could walk into a record store and like just lose yourself in there, right?
Yes, sir.
Now you have songs that you're all about the old school. You're all about old shit. You're all about your grandpa and your grandma and your dad and your mom. Do you wish that your music was coming up in a different time than 2010 to 2020? Do you ever sit back and go, gosh dang it, I wish I was in the 70s or the 60s or the 80s?
Absolutely. And the first album I did in 2006, we almost caught the tail end of it. Like it was almost, people still were buying CDs, they were still buying whole albums to look at liner notes, and right after that, shortly thereafter, 2 years after that, that all ceased to exist. Yes, I wish that if I would have been writing this, I've had 46 cuts on if not all platinum selling mainstream country albums, most of them. And if I was a songwriter in the 90s with the amount of cuts that I've had on mainstream albums, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I'd be really rich.
So you're saying that you wouldn't come to our duck camp if you're? No, I'm just.
No,
kidding.
I'd still
I know
be
what you're
there.
saying. I know what you're saying. But
I didn't mean it that way.
46 album cuts.
Yes,
46. And what does it take to get a cut? Like you get, so what you're saying, I want to make sure that everybody understands what a cut is. If Luke Bryan's going to put out a record, there's going to be somewhere between 10 and a dozen songs on that record, right, Ben?
Roughly.
So Luke will either write those songs himself or he'll go and people will, is it correct to say or fair to say, shop a song to Luke Bryan?
Pitch it.
Pitch a song.
Yeah. Yeah, like they get songs pitched to them, but most I mean, Luke's a writer, and so I mean, if they write themselves and they co-write, but yeah, I mean, they get a lot of guys get songs pitched to them every
so
week.
A cut is on the album, but a single is if they take that cut from that album and push it to radio.
That's right.
Yes.
A single goes to radio.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had that?
Never.
You've never had one of those 46 cuts go to radio.
Never.
Is he right, Ben?
Other than 6 feet apart.
Yeah, 6 feet
6
apart.
feet apart with Luke.
But there was no radio started picking it up itself, but there was no label promotion behind
Yeah,
it.
it was
But that's the only one that
technically
could
wasn't
be
a single.
considered a promoted single.
Okay, so on the new Luke Bryan album, you have a cut on there that's one of the, like, it's the best song on the album. Like, well, obviously I'm biased and you're going to say whatever, but will that become a single, or do you even know, or is it just like that's his whole team that says, okay, we want to push? How do they pick a single?
I have no idea, but I have a sneaky suspicion that it's also super political. And, you know, it's not, and then this is not Luke exclusive. I just think this is the way the industry works, that the larger the company and the more hands in each other's pockets they have, the better your odds are of getting a single.
The better your odds are. So with the way that radio is today, in your opinion, does it hold water anymore to have a number one hit?
Oh, yes. Yeah, well, what do you just mean as far as being able to
Is
take
it lucrative to have a number one hit?
Absolutely. For whatever reason, it still is. And that's a whole other conversation. Where does that money come from? I mean, is there that many ads to radio stations?
Right.
I don't know.
But my question is that,
strange.
it's funny you say that. Is there that much advertisement going on, Shawn? You're a businessman. You understand business and revenue. It seems like there's a new number one hit every 3 days. It just seems like they push them through so fast
Once every
now.
week.
Well, there's a new one every week.
Mm-hmm.
But it used to be to where like somebody would top
I
the
don't
charts
remember
for
it that
multiple
way.
weeks in
Yeah.
a row.
It was always a long
A
success.
multiple number one is very rare these days.
Why? Why?
I mean, I don't have a clue.
Because it's dying.
It's dying.
That's why.
But there was songs in our history of country music or rock and roll music where a song stayed at the top of the charts for several weeks. And now it's like, we just got to get this next guy there because is it political, or is it just how much money is behind a song, Brent? Is it because there's investment behind a song that gets it there?
I think it's both. I think when a label is breaking an artist, yes, I think that they put a lot of money to break that artist, and it can become a smash single, which they need to help maybe bring them more ticket sales and live shows. Thank you, Mr. Clay. And then, but then nowadays with the internet, things do go viral, and a lot of that stuff though is also politically motivated and financially motivated. There are nowadays, so the people that own those platforms are able to get their pockets greased as well. You know, it's all money, man. It's anything you do. You know how business works too. It's all pockets getting lined. It's all elbows getting rubbed. It's relationships. and I ain't got the money to pay for a single.
So if Shawn and I went and we talked to my Uncle Rocky over here with the pinky finger, the pinky ring, and we said, Rock, we need $125,000. And he said, well, for what? And I said, Brent's got this new song. It's badass.
We're going to run it up the chart.
So we could go to, who do we give that money to?
Exactly. I don't know. You would have to pick a radio
I don't even
promotion.
think that would get you very far either.
Yeah,
125 grand on one song?
Really?
You'd have to.
unbelievable.
That's pretty low grade. But you would have to pick a rodeo. I know. It sounds funny. It sounds like I'm pitching. Hey, Rocky, after we get done with this podcast,
We need more money.
but it really isn't that way though. Like,
What is that number, maybe?
it's 500 grand will get you if you're a independent.
Gracious.
If you're an independent, and you hire an independent radio promotion staff, and you don't have a label behind you, a major label, it would probably be 500 grand, because the majors have their own radio promotion staffs that they've already developed these relationships over years and years and years of developing these relationships. They're not going to charge as much money to that major label because everybody's getting a kickback at this point, right? And so if I'm an independent coming in and I hire this independent staff, why in the world would they listen to my independent staff if there wasn't, and it's payola, man. If there wasn't payola to be spread around, it's illegal to do that. But that's exactly, it's never changed since.
So
since
that
the
money is
20s.
going to go to there's traditional radio that's AM FM.
We're getting deep right here.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out, because if I had the money to do it, I would say I want to invest in one of these songs because I see an ROI. I see a return on Brent's career. But if you're telling me that there's no way that we're going, because if we get one of your songs to top 10 or top number one hit, or which it should be Grammy, because you are a bad mother, you know what,
Ducker.
mother ducker.
Yeah.
If you're going to sell more tickets. You're going to sell more merch. So if Rocky's investment has the ability to earn that ROI based on the beer sales and the T-shirt sales and the parking sales.
This is all hypothetical.
Hypothetical.
by the way, right?
But I'm just saying, do we go and pay Sirius XM? Do we pay Sirius XM, Brent?
Well,
Brent,
you're basically starting a record label at that
But
point.
who do we pay? I want to know who we give that money to.
You would give it to a radio promotion staff.
But don't we have to give it to Sirius XM or Spotify?
You would give it to radio promotion,
And then
radio promos who would spread their portion to whatever outlets,
the
FM,
powers that
XM,
be, yeah.
whatever. And then you would have to use a portion of that also to go to publicity to get it. That gets you into all of these news articles, and that gets you also. We haven't even talked about campaigning for a Grammy, which is, it's all campaigned, it's all political, it's all political.
So does that would that even guarantee it though?
No, it
So
does
if we
not.
just come up with a boatload of money,
Mm-hmm.
$750,000, and did all
right,
the right
and
things,
you did
it's still not a
everything
guarantee.
right. The only thing that can guarantee, and it won't guarantee you a Grammy or anything like that, but the only thing that can guarantee you success long term or short term is if it catches on with the fans. If it catches on with people listening and people get to hear it,
Yeah.
and they go, this is good. That's the only thing that guarantees you any kind of long term.
Because they start buying tickets and T-shirts and all that
Okay,
other
so
stuff.
let's put that into perspective of a career. Stapleton, who sells out arenas now, is that fair to say?
Sure.
He's had one number one hit that he sings. He's written several for other artists. When he went on to that award show that night with Timberlake and did those two songs, is that what boosted him? And if so, are you saying that you want radio because it pushes what Chris is doing now and selling out those stadiums, or you don't need it because Chris doesn't really have radio? How is Chris Stapleton doing it?
Well, he got exposed on that CMA award show with Justin Timberlake majorly, and he was very good. And it was the first time a lot of those viewers or listeners have seen anything like that. That was like, this dude's for real, man. I mean, you felt it in your heart when you saw that performance. It floored you. I don't care who you were. Obviously, all across the country, he was able to get that. And then, because it was so good, It lasts so long. He didn't have to follow it up with anything on radio. It was that good. But there's probably more to the story. I don't know if we should talk about it on the podcast.
Okay, we don't need to talk about it. It blows my mind that somebody with Chris's talent and then his stardom, he's become a star.
Absolutely.
Chris probably can't go into a store anymore, right?
No.
He's very recognizable with his hair and his hat and all that.
Yes, sir.
But he still doesn't have the support of Music City, in my opinion. It's weird.
Doesn't. But he doesn't need it now. That's what I was talking about. That's the only factor that if you can get the fans' attention, that's what I was saying. You can pay all the money in the world you want, and a lot of labels do. They waste a lot of money on these artists that have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 number ones, and they can still barely pack out a 10,000 seater because it never resonated with the fans. That's the if you can tap into that, and you can resonate with the fans, like Chris did, one time, and it's good and it resonates with them, it'll last forever.
All right, we're going to change lanes because I
It's fascinating though.
It's
crazy,
so
man.
deep to me. The music business is so fascinating to me because there's so many different elements that you can, like what you just said, I could name 5 artists right now that have at least 5 number 1 hits that maybe can sell 5,000 tickets to a show.
Yep.
Chris has one,
Yep.
and he'll sell out a football stadium.
Exactly.
It's a weird phenomenon there.
It is, but
the music business is just different. There's so many different levels of it.
Well, and there's a major component of it that nobody can define. That's the magic of capturing a market. You can't define that. It just happens or it doesn't happen. You can try all you want, but if you can capture a market, Chris did, you got them forever. You know.
You have them.
Yeah.
When you look at your body of work, your first 2 albums, or your mainstream albums, which were Shine on Rainy Day and then Providence Canyon. And I want you to pipe in on this, Shawn, because this was a weird deal to me when I talked to Brent when he was going into the studio to record his new album, which is heavily acclaimed. If you guys have and girls have not seen the critics and read what the critics are saying about Keep 'Em on Their Toes, it's a masterpiece. But it was not produced by the one and only Dave Cobb, who is Chris Stapleton and Jason Isbell, and he just did. He just
My
did
last 2.
He just did your last 2. He just did Lucas Nelson's first new album. What did you think when you heard that, Shawn? And Ben, I want you to because when he told me that, I'm like, why are you trying to fix something that's nowhere near broken? You have artists that would literally give their left leg to be in that studio. Is that fair to say, Ben?
To be in the studio with Dave.
yeah.
with Dave Cobb.
Yeah.
Right? And Brent is saying, I love my cousin, but I'm going to go produce my own shit. Like, is that crazy to both of you when you heard that?
It was not even unexpected.
Really?
Same way. I
Not
feel the
at
same
all.
way, yeah.
I know what you're saying, but Brent's his own man, and this thing may or may not. I've got theories in my own head that we won't go into, but it's going to happen just the way it's supposed to, or it won't happen at all.
Straight
And that
up.
is the whole life of my best friend, Brent Cobb. That's the way it's going to be. Period. End of story. Not even a question.
So
Not even like, is this the right thing? Not even a juggle. Just that's the way it is. And so this thing is the most beautiful sunrise of what I think is coming. This whole old buddy.
Define that, what you're saying, please.
Just this old buddy record's coming out, and this him coming away. Not saying anything about moving away from Dave and all that stuff, but Brent taking on this new role, producing that record. It's going to be the newest era of this. I think it's just going to be great because it's going to be organic. It's going to be the way he wanted it.
Straight to the point.
Ben, tell me what
It's
you
just
had
where
to.
it is.
You had to have went. Are you nuts?
What?
You had to have said, "Are you nuts?"
I didn't at all.
Neither
because
one of these dudes Yeah, that's funny that you would ask them that because y'all know me.
Probably bad
Yeah.
audience to ask that, but
And we, we talked through the whole thing. And you're like, I'm gonna do it with this guy, and he did this record, and I'm like, oh, cool. I've never heard of that record, but whatever. I mean, I'm sure it's gonna be great. And then when I got, and then he kind of, like, oh, it's gonna be kind of this way or that way or whatever. And everything he said was spot on, and it's awesome. I mean, it's just badass.
Can you pick a favorite track, Ben, on the new one? I'm going with number 8, so you guys don't taint my opinion. Number 8. That song is called
Dust Under My Rug?
No. When you go. When you go. Yeah. Like, that's unlike any Brent Cobb song. Is that one that you play live yet?
Yeah, I did it in the night of the release. I did one show this year, which was in Athens, and we played at Eddie's Attic, and I played for a little bitty socially distanced crowd. It was like 35 people, and I did that song, and I went from that song on the fly. I went into I Got to Run to Keep From Hiding, Midnight Rider.
Ooh.
It was so cool, man. Yeah, I do it.
Can you do a little bit of it right now? Do you know enough of it? This song right here, when I heard this, Shawn, when I heard this on the new album, it went on repeat for 2 days.
straight up.
This is the best song on the
I do
album,
that
in my
so
opinion.
often. I get a new song, I'll get Brent's. What's the sound files he sends me? What's that name of that thing? SoundCloud. I get those, and it just.
If it's Chris Knight or Brent Cobb, it's on repeat in my truck. And a lot of Adam Hood, too. Like, I'll just listen to 4 or 5 songs at a time.
I have to, because, like, you know, we've been friends for so long, but, like, you know, the early years, I was living those lyrics with him. Now I have to, like, sit back, get into it, and I can pick out where his mind was at and just kind of feel it. And I want to know what's up. I want to know the backstory. I want to know every nuance that's not there. And so I just, like you said, just hit on repeat and stuff
this
comes
song
to me, man.
This song is killer right here.
What's the foundation of the stance you're taking? Solid ground, old rock and roll. You all past the needle off at the station. Can't take it with you when you go, you know. Can't take it when you go. We're all bellied up at the same table, carrying on and eating crow. So pass the gravy and mashed potatoes. Call it chicken if you don't know, but you know. Can't take it when you go. You know, can't take it when you go. I got to run to keep from hiding, and I'm bound to keep on riding. I got one more silver dollar, but I'm not gonna let them catch me, no. I'm not gonna let them catch the midnight rider.
Damn it, Brent Cobb.
It goes in good too.
Get right to your backbone right there, boy.
But that number 8 on that record, and again, I'm a rookie music guy, but it is so unlike every other track on the record. Do you do this intentionally, or am I off by saying that? Because you got the shut up and sing, you got keep 'em on the toes, you got the world is in, and you got Dustin in my rock, and they're unreal. But this one like hits you like you're trying to like get a little influence of what you're saying.
We're trying to get to the meat.
Is it different than the rest of the tracks on there?
Of course, but I do that on every album. I did it on every album I've ever made. My dad, when I played him, Keep 'Em on Their Toes album, the Roughs, when I first got the first Rough smack my back, he said on that song, he said, "Man, you always got a dark horse, don't you?" and he wasn't that crazy about that song. And now he loves it. But I've done it on every album. No Place Left to Leave album in 2006, the dark horse was Black Creek.
Yeah.
On Shine on Rainy Day, the dark horse was Black Crow.
Yeah.
On and Let the Rain Come Down. On the last album, the dark horse was High in the Country. And then on this album, it is that song.
How does High in the Country get defined as the dark horse when you have songs on Providence Canyon such as The Morning's Gonna Come and even an elevated dark horse, in my opinion, of the Ain't a Road Too Long?
But they're not dark horses in comparison to musical style. Stylistically, those that you just named aren't that dark compared to the rest of the album. But the whole album is like... Oh, shit, my deal. I can't do it right now. Anyway, they're like happy kind of, they're funky, but they're all happy.
To it.
But so that High in the Country is,
Oh, yeah.
It's a dark
Oh,
horse.
yeah.
No other song on that album feels that way.
Did your dad say anything about that one back in the day?
Same, he said the same kind of thing.
Wasn't real high on it at the beginning?
Nope. But it's a dark horse for that album, And I always like to do that because I'm not just singer-songwriter Brent Cobb. He's always happy singing about South Georgia, although a lot of people like to say that about me. I don't think they understand I don't even understand my psyche, but so I can't expect them to either. But I think that they go, oh, this is just old South Georgia boy singing about South Georgia, and that's the way it comes out, which is fine. That's the way I want it to come out on the surface. But there's always a deeper current under the surface.
Is there a deeper current? I know that we're running out of time. I know that we got a lot of life left to live tonight. Got a great dinner getting ready to eat. Brent Cobb, we're getting ready to eat wild ducks that you and your boy Shawn
We
shot
are eating ducks again tonight?
Oh, heck yeah.
Oh, yeah,
That's
man.
wonderful news.
Widgeons and Sprig.
May not be close to that stroganoff you cooked last night. I don't know.
Boy, that stroganoff was something.
Did y'all like that stroganoff?
Come on.
Rocky, did you like that stroganoff last night? That's a little gravy on that touch. This album, is it deeper than the last two albums, or is it, because you always say you have a dark horse, is this a dark horse album compared to your first three?
That's a good question.
Is Keep 'Em on Their Toes is this going to be like your cornerstone of like, that's who's going to define Brent Cobb? Because I'm going to be honest with you. The song that defines you to me is Shine. When I hear that, I cry.
Which that song could have went on this
album. And I was just going to say that. Yeah. But is this the definition of Brent Cobb with Keep 'Em on Their Toes, with the way you're saying the things that you're saying? Because there's a lot of shit being said on this album.
I think it's a listener's opinion. But every album I have made, starting with Shine On, the last three albums I've made, have all been what I leave behind to my kids. So Shine On Rainy Day this is where Daddy comes from. Country bound, south of Atlanta. All of that. Solving problems. This is where Daddy comes from. Providence Canyon this is how Daddy feels about things, This is King of Alabama, You Got a Heart. Here's a story of a friend of mine. Or
Morning's Gonna Come was about a friend of yours.
Providence Canyon. Well, Morning's Gonna Come was about who Daddy was. This is who Daddy was. Daddy liked people from. Yeah, totally. Morning Gonna Come was about Rambo back home. It's telling stories, letting my kids know who Daddy was, and then this album, Keep 'Em on Their Toes, this is what Daddy thinks about things. This is where Daddy's head is and his heart is, and I don't know if that means just gonna make it a dark horse album, but I know that if I died shortly after this album came out, again, like every album, my kids could grow up from 6 and 18 months and know who I was, who their daddy was, which is my ultimate goal for every album I put out.
At one time, Brent Cobb, I don't know if it was during the tenure of our friendship or if I even personally heard you say this or just heard somebody say that you said this, but you were so surprised that people reacted the way they did to your first album, which I consider Shine on Rainy Day because that's where I started following your anthology.
That was the first major label
with Dave Cobb. You were so surprised by the reaction of people. You thought you were just going to make that and be done, and you were fine with that. And then all of a sudden, here comes Providence Canyon, and then here comes Keep 'Em on Their Toes. At this point in your career, at 33 years old, and one of the top songwriters in the country, are you set now of being able to tell me we're going to get more of Brent Cobb every year? We're going to get an album every year, every 2 years. Is this what you're doing now? You've been a songwriter, singer, not a singer songwriter. You define yourself as a songwriter, singer for the last 15 years. That's a decade and a half.
Yes, sir.
Are we going to get more Brent Cobb consistently through albums and vinyls and cuts and songs that you were personally going to sing yourself?
Until I die or people stop giving me money to making them, then that's all I'm here to do on this earth. That's what I do. So until I can't do it anymore or I die, which is, I guess, the same thing, then yeah, we'll always make, that's what I do. I will always make albums.
Are you a nerd when it comes to songwriting, meaning do you meet somebody like Rocky or Mike McVeigh or my brother Clay? I know you know these two very well in Shawn and Ben, but do you go on because I see you lay down on your bed once in a while and just get your phone. And a lot of people could assume that you're just playing Tetris or whatever games Brent Cobb has on his phone, or you're
Mario,
or you're ringing up a little bit of that Instagram or that Facebook or that MySpace or whatever you're on social media wise. Are you sitting there taking notes on Rocky Merlot of like, man, I met this Italian guy that farms and he's got these nuts and he loves duck hunting? Do you sit there and nerd out at night and come up with ideas and then go back to that library to write your songs at a later date?
Oh, the world may never know.
So you don't take notes on Rocky Merlot?
Say no.
You're going to say no?
I'd say no.
Perhaps I do. Perhaps I don't.
But maybe you don't.
So you don't write ideas down for your songs?
I will not reveal this.
Is it this much of a science, the Brent Cobb songwriting?
I think it would be it'd be, if I said yes, then it would be like, oh, he's over there writing songs every time you see me on my phone. So I don't know. I don't want to say. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't.
I feel like there's a thing between creatives that every day in life there's something that's going to come up that's going to strike a nerve and go, I need to remember that.
It's kind of like Ty or Tyson over, when they're recording all of us, and you want everybody to act normal like the camera isn't around. So if you have a songwriter in the bunch and you think I'm sitting over there writing notes about you, that's going to affect the way you're going to act in a situation. So why would I reveal that to you? I'm just.
Will you at least tell me?
I'm just on Facebook over
Will
there.
you at least tell me that you've gotten some inspiration from that hat you're wearing that Rocky gave us?
When I first saw this hat, it took me back to childhood, man. I don't even know why. I guess because I thought it was Daffy Duck. And man, we and Shawn used to collect trucker hats since we were 15 years old.
And what's crazy about that hat is not an hour later he smashes his first Drake pintail and his first Drake mallet
and
smashed him and makes the hat just come alive. He's wearing the hat now. He can make it, man.
Let's fly together with
Let's fly together. Just beat them down.
There's so much about this whole trip, and just sitting here right now, everything always plays a role into being creative, just with your show as it is with your show. Everything is always creative. You may not know it right when it's happening, but it comes out later. When you're editing and you go, we're trying to get this story like this. Oh, man, this happened. That would be perfect for this story. It's the same way with songwriting. It's the same exact thing. This
songbook
will absolutely play a key role in some kind of several songs outright.
I think what you do is, I'm going to end it like this. I know that you know how I feel about you. You signed for my birthday this year. You sent me a signed vinyl of Keep 'Em on Their Toes, and you said, Belding, you already know that I love you more than groceries. Like, that shit's just cool. Those words right there to me. But
I stole that from Shawn.
you stole that from Shawn.
Yeah, Shawn used to tell people, he used to say, I love you more than groceries. And
I think that's an old school saying. I hear it somewhere.
You don't hear that out west.
It's Shawn.
Somewhere from the family or
You
something.
created it. I stole it from him.
I'm going to ask you to do this for me. Rocky's a very emotional person. Rocky's one of my best friends. Rocky lost his dad at a young age, just like I did. He was very close with his dad. His dad, Harry, was a very big trailblazer, influencer of waterfowl habitat conservation, family, friends, enjoying life, living life the right way in this part of California, a little bit south of here in the Chico Valley. When I hear Shine, I think that it reflects every feeling that the body is supposed to feel on a given day. Have you ever heard that, Shawn? Like, your body is supposed to feel that way. And I feel that when I hear the words. They strike me. Like, they strike me down. Like, wow.
Yeah, man, me too.
Does that song hit you, right?
It does it, man.
It's one of those songs to where the chord progression is one thing. It sounds beautiful, but the lyrics... And I'm going to say this, like, the first verse is it's probably my favorite verse in music. And I'm a huge songwriter guy. Like, I love listening or breaking down songs. Like, how did Axl write Patience? How did Sammy Hagar write this or whatever? Like, but when I listen to that song, I'm just like blown away by where it takes me. And I think that if you put people into a lab rat situation, this is going to sound weird, Brent, but you got to study their brain waves like you do on a CPAP machine for snoring, or what the brain's doing when you snore too much or shutting down for oxygen or air. I think that if there was a humanistic ability to test the human brain, Shawn, of what humans feel when that song comes on, wouldn't that be a cool study? Like,
They do that, man. They do all kind of weird stuff.
That would be a cool study of like what the brain goes. Where do I travel to when I hear that song? Mm-hmm. When I hear Shine, this is what, like, when I hear Rocky talk about his dad or his family, when I hear the words of Shine, it makes me go, this life is so special. And I think that's what Shine on Rainy Day means, is that it doesn't let you forget where you come from and what you're supposed to be feeling when you wake up every morning. There's a way, and Brent has always told me, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be depressed. I write songs when I'm high. I write songs when I'm low. I write songs when I'm stoned. I write songs when I'm sober. That is what that song does to me, is that if you can go through life and live that Instagram or that IG life where everybody's happy, everybody's getting them, everybody's a model, everybody's got the 6-pack of abs, everybody created the best meal, everybody went on the best vacation. That ain't real life. No, we struggle a lot. There is a lot of struggle in this life. And days like this, nights like this, meals like this, friends like this, it lets us know, like, holy shit, this life is badass. There's peaks and valleys. And it's real.
You know it's real.
Yes,
will you please play that and let Rocky and Mike hear that, please? This is Shine on Rainy Day. Thank you all so much for listening to another episode of This Life Ain't For Everybody. Brent Cobb, Shawn, thank you, brother Ben. Thank you. This goes out to Rocky Merlo and his family. This is Shine on Rainy Day. Thank you, Jack Daniels, for taking care of everything we do here. Brent Cobb, thank you, brother. Here we go.
I've loved strangers, dodged deals and dangers, searching for my own little piece, from the countryside to the slick city streets. And I miss my hometown, been high and low down, learned every which way of the game, how some things do and some don't change. It's safe to say I'm still crazy over you. Your love gets me through when I'm stuck in life's crazy glue. Ain't it funny how a little thunder make a man start to wonder, should he swim or just go under? Ain't it funny how you learn to pray when your blue skies turn gray, when there's nothing left to say? Shine on rainy day. A friend once told me, he said, boy, you sound so lonely. All those cheating, leaving, done me wrongs. Have you ever heard of a happy song? Well, offended, I set down my glass. I smiled and let the moment pass. Said, tabs on me if you think I'm lying. Laughing ain't a pleasure till you know about crying. Ain't it funny how a little thunder make a man start to wonder, should he swim or just go under? Ain't it funny how you learn to pray when your blue skies turn gray, when there's nothing left to say? Shine on rainy day. Shine on rainy day. Ain't it funny how a little thunder make a man start to wonder, should he swim or just go under? Ain't it funny how you learn to pray when your blue skies turn gray, when there's nothing left to say? Shine on rainy day.